Okay. Today's warm-up is a review of the last lesson. Before we continue, you need your colored pen out and you need your calculator out. Today is the third time you've had me this week. You need to start getting used to when you come in. Take out your pencil, your notebook, and your colored pen and your calculator. You're going to need them every time you come to class. Your pencil is on your desk. Your colored pen is in your hand. And we're going to go around and get some solutions to these, some answers. Let's see how we did with evaluating expressions. We'll start with Catalina for number 1. Catalina, Kamoy, Brian.
I got 84.
Okay.
84.
So you two agree?
84.
So everyone agrees that it's 84. The correct answer is 84. Number 2. Remember, everybody stay on your toes. I will call on you whether you have your hand raised or not. Zabari, is it Ania? Zabari, Ania, and then Brandon.
316.
3/16? Okay. Okay. Wow, everybody agrees? That is correct. It is 3/16. Mark your work correct or incorrect. If you got it wrong, write down the correct answer and either figure out where you went wrong or we'll do it together. Number 3, what did you get? We'll start with Sharik, then we will go to Kayla, and then we will go to Maria.
35.
Okay.
35.
Maria, what do you think?
Oh, 35.
It is 35. And what about number 4? What did we get? We will start with Sebastian, and we will go to Anissa, and then we will go to Stephanie. Is that Stephanie? Stephanie. Go ahead. 3. You two agree? What do you think, Stephanie?
3.
The correct answer is 3. So let's total up and see how we did on this little mini quiz. So it is 4 questions. Count up the number you got correct. Hopefully you got 3 or more correct. And then it's very easy to convert to a percent. If the denominator is 4, of course that is 75%. If you got 4 out of 4, of course 100%. Any questions about my expectations there? Good, let's survey the class. Give me a thumbs up if you got 75% or better. Put your thumbs down. Good, so we have a few people who don't feel as confident, but the rest seem to be okay. So, questions on any of these? Questions. We'll start with Maria and then Kayla. What do you think, Maria?
Number 2.
Number 2, what was your question, Kayla? Number 2, Ania? Number 4? Okay. Let's start with number 2. And can I have a volunteer who's thinking at a really high level point out to us what is the one major difference between number 2 and the other 3 questions? What's the one major difference? It can be summed up with one word, Shelby. What's the one word? Yeah, fraction. So the issue is not algebra. The issue is computation, understanding fractions. So we have 7/8 times 1/2 minus 1/4. We have 2 operations, multiplication and subtraction. Which one do we have to do first? Which one has to be done first, Alyssa? Yeah. But now I have to multiply fractions, and Mr. Gallett, I really just don't like that. I don't want to do it. Well, that's ridiculous. It's actually quite easy. How do you multiply 2 fractions together? What are you supposed to do to multiply 2 fractions? I got 4 confident people. 7, 8, 9 confident people. Tristan. You can use simple words. You don't have to use the fancy words.
The top one with the other top one. And the bottom one with the...
Good. Keep it simple. Yes, we do use a lot of fancy language in this room, but sometimes simple words makes it a little easier to understand. Multiply top times top, bottom times bottom. Multiplying fractions is the easiest fraction operation. I don't have any space down here, so I'm just going to continue over here. 7 times 1 is 7. 8 times 2 is 16. So now I have 7/16 minus 1/4. But if I was really high level, if I was a really high level student, I wouldn't write down 1/4. I would write something else. What would I write instead? Sharik?
-1/4.
Could do -1/4. Yep, I could do keep change right off the bat if that will help me. I don't know if in this case doing keep change helps. There's something else that you have to do, Catalina.
Convert it to 4/16.
Yeah, if I was really high level, I would have realized right off the bat that I was going to need a common denominator, and so 1/4 converts to 4/16. And when you do that subtraction, you get 3/16. And that is the value we were looking for. Okay? So, did I answer your question? Maria, Maria, be brave and tell us, where did you go wrong?
I just didn't know. I wasn't sure how to subtract it.
Okay, so you got the multiplication part, you weren't sure how to subtract. Good, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. Okay, good. Any question? Go ahead, Alyssa.
No, I was going to do it.
Good, go ahead, please.
I forgot to subtract.
You forgot to subtract. So you did the multiplication and then you just kind of stopped? Okay. All right, that happens sometimes. Sharik?
Okay, I found out when I got a mistake when you wrote it on the number 2. I actually substitute the variable wrong again.
Okay, what did you substitute?
I accidentally substituted to 1/4 instead of a half.
Okay, so you kind of just got visually a little messed up. You kind of thought this was supposed to go in there. Okay, so that happens. Okay, and now I think Ania had asked about number 4.
I know what I did wrong.
You know what you did wrong? Good. What can you share with us?
I forgot to put the exponent.
Okay, so you mean you actually forgot to write it at the beginning? Okay, that's an honest mistake. That's not a big deal. Are there any other questions? Any other questions on any of these? Okay. Hey, we're going to take the little that we've learned so far, and we're going to learn how to solve problems by constructing models. To do that, we have to work through some language that we need to be very proficient at. So, first, a mathematical model. What am I talking about? I'm not talking about a physical construction that we're going to make out of plaster or anything like that. I'm talking about an expression or an equation or an inequality. So what we need to be able to do is take a scenario and translate it into math. So I'm going to fast forward to an item we're going to do later on. I don't want you to copy this or do anything. I just want to show you what the goal is. The goal is to be able to take this scenario, which is 1, 2, 3 sentences, and translate it into an equation or an expression or an inequality that we can then solve for a value. So translating from here is the key. So we're going to build up to this. Before we do this, we're going to do smaller chunks of language to get used to it. Okay? Does anyone have any questions so far? So we're going to explore some words and phrases and that mean the 4 different operations, the 4 major ones: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So let's start with the first one. The sum of 6 and a number. Before we talk about what that will look like, I want to know what word or words tell us the operation. What word or words tells us the operation, Kamoy? Sum. And what operation does the word sum indicate? Well, Kayla, I kind of gave it away. It's addition, because I wrote addition right here. But the sum or sum of, that tells us it's addition. So the sum of 6 and a number will be 6 plus n. So when I say translate from English to math, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about translating this into something that looks like that. Any questions so far? Good. 8 more than a number. What phrase or word indicates the addition? Aliana?
More. More than.
More than. Very good. I was about to ask you. More than. Now, there's another word or phrase that tells us there's going to be a variable. What word or phrase tells us there's a variable? Brandon? A number. A number tells us that there is a variable somewhere in this expression. And so that's how we get 8 more than n. N plus 8. You could put 8 plus n, but n plus 8 is the best answer. Any questions about that? Anything I'm doing up here, that's, yes, you are doing. Yes. Next one. A number increased by 7. What tells us its addition, Sharik?
Increased
Increased
by.
by. Increased by tells us its addition. And what word or phrase tells us that there's a variable? What word or phrase tells us there's a variable? Sebastian? A number. Same thing as we've seen a few times. So a number increased by 7 is n plus 7. Does anyone have any questions on how that worked? Okay, so now I'm going to start going faster, and I don't need you to copy down each one. Pick one example from each operation to copy, and make sure you're looking and participating, but you can get away with copying just one example. Okay? So, for subtraction, I've got 3 different examples. So the difference of 5 and a number. What word or phrase tells us that it's subtraction? Got 1 light bulb, 4 light bulbs, 5. I got a whole bunch of light bulbs. Catalina?
Difference of.
The difference of. Very good. That's an important word. Difference. And so the difference of 5 and a number is 5 minus n. 4 less than a number. This is actually an unusual case. 4 less than a number. What word or phrase tells us it's subtraction? Anissa?
Less.
What is it?
Less.
Less or less than. Very good. But this case is very unusual. The phrase less than works differently than all the other phrases. 4 less than a number does not mean 4 minus n. Because usually what we do is whatever comes on the left, we put first, and whatever comes on the right, we put next. But it won't make sense because of the words that are being used. 4 less than a number is n minus 4. It has to be. And then decreased by also means subtraction. Decreased by. And so a number decreased by 9 would be n minus 9. Okay? Any questions on what we're doing, how we're breaking this down? Think about the goal that I showed you, the question that we were going to do later on. Think about that question and how this applies. If we take that big question with 3 sentences and all sorts of information, we want to be able to pick out phrases like this so that we can translate them. Okay? So, I think I'm going to modify this a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit faster. So in the interest of time and your hand not cramping up, I would like you to, you don't have to copy anymore, but I really want to make sure you guys understand these different words that indicate multiplication and division and other things. Product is a really important word. Product is what tells us multiplication. Also, in algebra, you should have learned in pre-algebra last year that when we do a multiplication problem, we actually don't write a multiplication symbol. We write the number next to the letter. This is really, really important for this year. I mean, we've already been doing it, so it shouldn't be an issue. 10 times a number, 10n. Same thing. We don't write the multiplication symbol. Any questions about that? Good. Division. Again, you don't have to write. Make sure you're just watching and participating. The quotient. That is one word that you guys should know. The quotient of. That means division. But you should have learned last year, maybe not emphasize too much, but I'm going to emphasize it more this year, is we don't use the traditional division symbol anymore. We don't use that anymore. What do we use instead of that this year? Brian?
Fraction bar?
Yeah, we use a fraction bar. So from now on, get used to writing division like that. N over 4, or n divided by 4. Likewise, it could be the other way around. 7 divided by a number is 7 divided by n. The goal, again, is to be able to pick out words and phrases that have meaning in math. So we have some special ones that have special meaning in our classroom. Does anyone know what the quantity, how do I write that? The quantity, or the quantity of? Zavar?
The quantity is in a parenthesis.
Very good. Very, very good. The quantity or the quantity of means you write parentheses. What about the square of? How do I write that? How does that translate from English into a math expression? The square of. Anita?
Number squared.
Okay. How will it look? Like what can you use another word? Okay, but how do you really say that? You're right.
N times n?
Okay, so you explained there's a word that you're going to kick yourself for not knowing. Alicia?
N squared?
Well, that's what it says, squared, but what's another way to say that? What's another word to describe that 2 she was referring to? Brandon?
Power.
Yeah, power of 2. Or what's the other fancy word? Catalina? Exponent. So, square of means, as she said, n squared. So, Ania, you were right. I just was looking for that word. And here's one that students in this class shouldn't have a problem with, but the average young person would. Is less than. Does anyone know what is less than is tells you to write? Is less than, Cherie?
Is it the is less than sign? It's like a, like this sign. It's like the opposite of the greater sign. It's kind of like an analogy of this, like.
Yeah. It's the less than symbol. So how, because I want you to look at this. Up here, it said less than, and here it says is less than. 2 letters, completely different. 4 less than a number is n minus 4. If it said 4 is less than a number, then that would mean 4 is less than the number. So that word is changes everything. So you got to be able to pick out words like the word is. Okay? Good. You guys are doing a very good job. We got a bit more to go. So now let's start putting this into practice. So we got some words and some vocabulary and some words and phrases down. Now we're going to go through some examples. As I said before, this is still notes. So example 1, you can write EX1, and you don't have to write what's in parentheses, but you do have to read it. It gives you a clue as to what we're doing. And then you have to copy the original question. Checkpoints you don't have to copy, examples you do. So go ahead and copy a number y decreased by the sum of 8 and the square of another number x. Bless you. Bless you. Okay. Just saying it out loud. Oh, and I'm sorry, I have a mistake. There's not supposed to be a period. If you wrote the period, do me a favor with me, erase it right now. There's not supposed to be a period because this is a phrase, not a sentence. It makes a big difference. Just reading this phrase sounds complicated. A number y decreased by the sum of 8 and square of another number x. That sounds confusing. We have to translate this from English into math. Some of you could just read it and do it. Some of you could do it correctly. But most of you could not if you just started and just wrote down a y and then went, okay, decreased by, and then tried to fill it in that way. Most of you would write something wrong. You'd probably get a lot of it correct, but you'd get at least a little bit wrong. And so to make sure we get the whole thing correct, I have a technique that I'm going to teach you. And it's simple. It's called work backwards. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to work backwards. We are going to start at the end and work our way towards the beginning. And what we do is we break the phrase into chunks that make sense. We go chunk by chunk. So follow along with me, and you'll see how my method works so well. So what you have to do is try and find the chunks that you can actually translate. So start at the end. Another number x. Well, that's easy to translate. There's an x. So write down an x. Don't put it on one side or the other. Put it somewhere in the middle because we don't know what else is going to go with it. Now go backwards. Try to find a chunk that you can kind of put together. So I'm going to go to, okay, the square of. The square of. So what should I do with my x that I already wrote down to change it to the square of? What should I do to it? Tristan? What exponent?
2.
Very good. Now that's the square of another number x. So I've translated already everything I highlighted in green and yellow. Now go back another chunk. Try to find something that you can kind of put together. The sum of 8 and. So how can I take what I've already written and change it to the sum of 8 and this? How can I change it to the sum of 8 and the rest of that? What would I do to it? Anissa?
8 plus x squared.
Good. I can either do 8 plus x squared or I can do x squared plus 8. Either way, since it's addition, it doesn't matter. 8 plus x. So now go backwards. So now we've got decreased by. What's that going to translate to? Only 3 people know what decreased by is, even though we just went over it. Decreased by? Decreased by. My quiet students, by the way, stay on your toes because I'm going to call on you randomly. I don't want you to feel pressured or embarrassed. Dainara, what's decreased by? Very good. It's subtraction. Okay? But where is it going to go? Is it going to go over here on the left or is it going to go over here on the right? This is hard. What do you think, Sebastian? It is actually going to go on the left. Yeah. It's going to go over here. But you have to be really careful. When you're subtracting something, you're subtracting the whole thing. So you can't just subtract this. If I put the subtraction sign here, it really means I'm subtracting the 8. But I'm not subtracting the 8. It says decreased by the sum. So how do I decrease by the sum? What should I add in so that it will make sense? Kamoy?
You have to solve the, you have to add in the variables, plug in the variables.
Plug in variables with what? Okay. So we'll come back to your idea. Anne? Yeah, we need to put in a grouping symbol. If I just put this subtraction sign here, that means minus 8. But that's not what it says. It says decreased by the sum. So I have to put a grouping symbol around the sum so that I am subtracting the sum from whatever goes over here. So I have one chunk left, and that's super easy chunk on number y. On number y, put down a y. And so now we have translated this whole English phrase into a mathematical expression that will work. Now, Kamoy, if I was given a value, I could then plug it in and find out the result. But I don't have any values to plug in right now. We're just learning how to translate. Okay? Any questions about example 1? Now, that took 5 minutes. Does that mean tonight when I give you your homework assignment, I expect you to take 5 minutes on each one? No, because we were going slowly and we were just for the first time learning this work backwards method. And so when you do it on your own, it should take you a minute, maybe even less, or 2 minutes. Okay? Any questions? Now we're going to build on this. Example 2. Again, write EX2, or you can write example 2, I don't care. But now we're going to work on sentences. So now that I'm introducing sentences, that means that we are actually writing equations or inequalities, which means we need equal signs or inequality symbols like Sharik was teaching us earlier, the less than symbol. So we have to be able to pick out the word or words that tell us what type of sentence it is. So this says 3 times the quantity 1 less than a number b is 24. There is a word in there that tells us whether it's an equation or an inequality. What is the word? 2 light bulbs, 3 light bulbs, 4 light bulbs. 5. What do you think, Eric? And is it inequality? Which words?
1 less than.
Okay, so I understand why you chose that. But less than doesn't mean an inequality. There had to be another word in there that meant inequality. What was that other word that had to be in there?
It is.
Yeah, so Kayla, what word in this whole thing tells us what it is? Well, no, that's what he said. You said less than, but in this case, less than doesn't, it has to be is less than for it to be inequality. I'm giving you a little clue. Alyssa?
Subtraction.
So less than means subtraction, but I'm still trying to figure out, is this an equation or an inequality? Which one is it? Zabari?
Expression.
It's a what?
Expression.
It's not an expression. I already gave away that it's an equation or an inequality. Some of you guys are missing, you're making it a little harder than it really is. Okay, so you meant the equation?
Yeah.
Okay, what tells us it's an equation? There's actually not the 24, the what? No, the B doesn't tell us it's an equation. Guys, you're making it much harder. You already said it. What word makes it an equation? You said it already. I'll help you out. You're going to kick yourself. The word is tells you it's an equation. You already said it. You said is 24, and I said not the number, but the, and then you changed it to something different. Yes, Zabari? That's what you said, right? You said is 24? Okay. So the 24 is not what makes it an equation. The is what makes it an equation. Is means equals. Is means equals. Everybody put an equal sign. That took way too long to get to the word is, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. Way too long for you to filter down to the word is. I'm sorry if I wasn't being clear enough. That's my fault, but we got to work through this. So, we know that it's an equation. I understand Eric's thought of that less than meant it was an inequality, but it has to say is less than, and then it's an inequality. That's not what it says. So now we work backwards. Start at the end. 24. That's not hard. Put a 24. Now we put the rest in chunks, just like we did. Could someone tell us what the next chunk should be? Following my model that I did a moment ago? Alicia?
B.
Yeah, I'll throw in the number B. That's all one phrase that I can translate, and there's going to be a B. I don't know where it should go, so I'm not going to put it right here. I'm going to put it somewhere in the middle so I can add things to the right and to the left of it. Now go back a little bit further. What should my next chunk be? What should my next chunk be? And even if you're wrong, just try. What should the next chunk be? 1 less than. That was perfect. 1 less than. 1 less than. So how do I write 1 less than? How do I write that? Maria?
-1.
Very good. It's going to be -1. So 1 less than a number B is B minus 1. What's the next chunk that I should highlight with my special highlighter here? What's the next chunk I should highlight? Sebastian? Well, that is the rest, but I think I could break it down into 2 chunks. What would the next chunk be, you think?
Quantity?
Yeah, the quantity. So we already talked about how to write that. How do I write the quantity? What am I going to do now? What am I going to do, Sharik?
Grouping symbols?
Yeah, I'm going to put a grouping symbol around the B minus 1. And now Sebastian was right. The last chunk is going to be 3 times. Catalina, how should I write 3 times the quantity?
Just put it in front of the parentheses.
Very good. Just put the 3 right here, right next to the parentheses, and that tells us multiply. Very good. Comments, questions on how we did that? Good. Four less than the product of weekdays and a number A is less than 14. I want to translate this. Since it's a sentence, and I can see that because it has a period, I know that it has to be an equation or an inequality. Which one is it and why? Eric.
It's an inequality because it says is.
Beautiful. That's why I called on you, because I knew You had figured it out already. That tells us it's an inequality because it says is less than. That was outstanding. And so it's going to be that symbol right there. And now we use the work backwards method. So now we just piece it together. What should I write down first? What do you think? Let's go rapid fire. You're going to just tell me next piece. Go ahead, Zabari.
14.
14. That's the easiest thing to do. Just write down a 14. So the right-hand side's done. Now we're going to work on the left-hand side. What is the next chunk that I should address? What's the next chunk? Jada?
A number A.
Very good. A number A. And so that's just write down an A. That's easy. Put an A. Leave some space on both sides of it because we don't know where stuff's going to go. What's the next chunk? Next chunk. Brian?
Product of weekdays and
The product of weekdays and. Very good. The product of weekdays and. How do I write the product of weekdays? That sounds weird. The product of weekdays. How do I write that, Brandon?
7
Where'd you get the 7 from? No, go back to what you said first. Where'd you get the 7 from? Oh. Are there 7 weekdays?
Oh.
Say it again a little louder.
5.
Yeah, there are 5 weekdays. But you had the right idea. I like what you came up with. Most people don't even realize that this is not a variable. We know how many weekdays there are. So it's 5, the product of weekdays and the number A. So what's the last chunk that we need to put in? 4 less than. And Maria's going to help us again. Maria, how do I write 4 less than? Well, I chose you because you did the last one so perfectly.
-4.
Very good. It's -4. In other words, it's not 4 minus, it's -4. Okay? And so we are done translating. Very, very good. Comments, questions on how we did part B or part A? Okay, checkpoint number 1. Let's see how you do on your own. Just write CP1. You do not have to copy the whole thing unless you really want to. I'm not going to give you a ton of time. So you could just look up here and start translating it yourself. So you get a minute and a half. Go ahead and begin. Okay, this one's a little bit difficult to call on volunteers, so I am just going to write out what I expected. And there's a couple of different possibilities, a few different possibilities, so don't mark yours right or wrong until I get them all down. What I was looking for was b over 5 plus 6 is greater than or equal to 10. That was what I was looking for. I will accept it if you flip-flop these two. So if you put 6 plus b over 5 is greater than or equal to 10. Are there any other answers that you think might be right, but you're not? It doesn't look exactly like that. Kamoy and then Sharif.
If you put the divider sign instead of the bar.
Okay, I will accept it for this moment. Starting tomorrow or next time I see you, it will not be accepted. Because we no longer use the division symbol. We no longer use this. We use the fraction bar to represent division. Okay? But you can mark it correct for now. Sharif?
10 is greater or equal to b divided by 5 plus 6.
That's the same thing. If you flip-flop the whole thing. Wait, do you put 10 is greater than? It has to be like this.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean.
So you put 10 is less than b over, over 5 plus 6. If that's what you have, then you can mark it correct. But if you have this symbol flipped the other way, then that is incorrect. So are there any comments or questions on how this was done? So now we come to the actual work that we were trying to get to, which is being able to take this situation and translate it. Everyone write example 3, but do not copy the question. I just want you to read the question. So, you've had a chance to read the scenario. So now we want to do something similar to what we've been doing. We want to read through, but it's not going to be sequential like it was before. In other words, in this we were able to either go forward and just go piece by piece, or we could go backwards and go piece by piece. Going straight through. But now, in a real-world scenario, you might have one piece of information in this sentence and a different piece of information in this sentence, and those two might need to go together. So that's what we want to do, is we want to pick out numbers and operations and variables. So, let's use the work backwards method. Let's start at the end. But in this time, we're not necessarily going to write things down starting at the end. We're going to pick things out starting at the end. What does the last sentence tell us that we need to know? It tells us a bunch of things that we need to know. Alyssa? Very good. Very important. So the fact that it's an equation really helps us out. They didn't have to tell us that, but they did. So in this case, we do know that we are going to have an equation. What else does the last sentence tell us? What else does it tell us? Just 3 people have an idea? Everyone else wants this question to be over with? What do you think, Kamoy?
That it was, there was tax, so we didn't find out.
Okay. Brian, what were you going to say?
Oh, we need to solve for tax.
Okay. And so you're right. So you both said similar things, but so what else does that tell us? Think of the things that I told you we need to look for. Numbers, operations, and variables. So what, Brian, did we just discover in this last sentence?
Tax is going to be a variable.
Yeah, because that's what's missing. So we know that tax is a variable. We don't know where it's going to go, but we know that this is going to be a letter T. So we can give ourselves a little note over here that T is going to be tax. We don't know where it's going to go yet, though. We don't know if it's going to go on the right, on the left. So now we need some other numbers. Could someone point out a number or an operation or another variable? Anything at all. Something, anything. Point out something. Anything at all. Tristan? Okay, I love the word you used. What word did you say? The what? Yeah, does it say total anywhere in here? No, but you know what? Your instinct was perfect. You thought that that was a total, and you're right. And this is really important, because this is my biggest piece of advice for the first quarter of this year. When you're trying to solve a problem like this, one major thing you should always try to find is a total. And he just found it. And where does the total usually go in an equation? Where does the total usually go? This is why it's so important. Where does it go, Stephanie? At the end. In this case, it's the right. Very good. So we can immediately put the 7950 on the right. All right, now pick out something else for me. What else do we need? Other pieces of information. What else? Shelby? Very good. Price for one is $12.50. Very good. What else do we need? Other pieces of information. Darby? That's what I said. Jada. Where did I get Darby from? Jada.
Each DVD is 6. They bought 6 DVDs.
Bought 6. Very good. Another important piece of information. What else? So I got numbers. I apologize for messing up your name. What else do we need? We got numbers, but I don't know what to do with them. Where are the words that tell us what to do? Anissa? Oh. Say that again. Wow, I'm impressed. You caught the right word. Do you know what it means?
Every DVD you buy, that's how much it costs.
That's right, but what operation does it do? Very good. That means we're going to multiply. So there's an operation right there. So now we have to start putting it all together. What is going to get multiplied? What is going to get multiplied in this case? Caleb? Very good. This is actually a little bit of a strange question because you're going to multiply. Usually you multiply a variable, but you're going to end up multiplying this times this. So we've got 6 times 1250. But we have tax. Where's that going to go? That's got to go in somewhere. Where's the tax going to go? Ania? After the what parentheses? Oh, we're going to put parentheses? Where? Okay, so you want to do that? Okay. And so then you said tax is going to go after that? Is there going to be an operation? Okay, well you'll find out in a second. Nathaniel? Sebastian?
Addition, you put plus T.
Yeah, we're going to add T. I'm messing up all sorts of names here. Sorry. Whew. Okay, so now we add in the tax. Tax gets added on to what you purchase. So, I really like what Ania did. She clarified things by putting in these parentheses. Since we're adding, the parentheses are actually not necessary, but I think it's good because it helps us really clarify what to do first. And then we would solve. Okay? We're not going to solve right now because our goal was to translate, and that's what we did. Okay? Yes.
And I just started solving the equation.
I know, but we're not going to solve.
On the homework, are we like just gonna have to translate and not solve?
On the homework, you're going to follow the instructions. If it says just write, if it says write an equation, just write it. If it says solve an equation, solve it. but I think most of it says to write. But we'll find out. Shelby and then Brandon, you're going to have to hold on one second. Shelby? Is there a formula you can use for tax? Yeah, sort of. But we're not. This is a little bit different. This question is not really taking into account how the tax was calculated. So she's right. That's kind of an important piece. But this was kind of not including that into the situation. Okay, so now I have to modify a few things. That's not your fault, it's my fault. I took a lot of extra time to explain this, so part of my lesson has to be cut off. So here's what you're going to do. Everyone draw a line across your paper. And I would like you to write classwork, but I don't want you to copy the assignment. I want you to write classwork, and then I want you to write free point. Everyone in the class will get a free point for classwork. So when I fill out your slip next time, I will circle 1 for everybody. Then draw another line across your paper, and the part that you do have to do is the homework. Your homework, it looks like a lot, but it's a very normal average assignment. It's just broken up to a few different pages. Page 18, you're going to do numbers 4 through 20 even, and then you're going to do number 32. Write down number 32, don't skip it. On page 20, there's a special section called Ready to Go On, and that's a review of everything you've studied so far, and you're going to do 1 through 10. You're going to do all of them 1 through 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Odd and even. And then on page 24, you're going to do 4 through 14 even. So that actually comes out to 26 questions, even though it seems like a lot. And please write down that there are 26 questions. Next week, you're going to have a quiz on formulas on Monday. You are actually going to have a second quiz on Wednesday. On Wednesday's quiz, it will be sections 1.1 to 1.3, and that will be on Wednesday.